Hi everyone, and welcome to this second open call webinar in the DIH4CPS project. My name is Tord Valentinsson. I represent Innovalia, and with us today we also have Rita Campos from Uninova that's also going to be presenting. I'm really glad to be here and have all of you here, so I hope all of your doubts and questions will be clear during today's session. As you can see here, we have the agenda for today's webinar. We will start with a brief introduction of the DIH4CPS project and the current application experiments, which Rita will go through. Then we're going to look more into detail in the first open call, which obviously is today's main topic. This project consists of 2 rounds of open call, but we will obviously focus on the first one. So we will look more into the objectives of this first open call. We'll have a word about the funding, eligibility criteria, evaluation criteria, and also the submission process. Then we also have a call for evaluators. So if you're an expert in this field and would like to evaluate proposals of this open call, that's all. You can register on our platform where you will be able to upload your CV. I will go through that later. Then we're going to have a question and answer session at the end of this webinar, where you will be able to ask your questions or if you have any doubt. In order to maintain discipline and order in the meeting, I would kindly ask everyone to mute yourself, and during the question and answer session we will use the raise hand function implemented in this application. So just to have a project overview, the DIH4CPS supports European companies, mainly SMEs and mid-caps, aiming to establish Europe as a leading innovator of the 4th industrial revolution. So the main objective of this project is to support the uptake of CPS technology in Europe through coordination of DIHs. And to have a look at the numbers, a brief overview. We have 11 initial application experiments, and the project will last for 3 years, and we are a total of 33 partners located in 10 different EU countries with 15 SMEs and 13 DIHs. And for this first round of open calls, we have 1.8 million located as funding, but we will go more into that later. And now Rita is going to give you an overview of the timeline and talk more in depth about the project itself.
Open call, which will mainly occur during this year. So we want the evaluation to be quite fast. The objective of this open call, as you know, is to get new application experiments, so validation of technology and hubs to our network. And we'll have a second open call next year just to connect our network with more digital innovation hubs. So it will be a different type of open call. And the objective is that we will have at least 21 application experiments during the project, launching their prototypes of application of physical and embedded systems in companies, and launch some tools, particularly a navigation interface to support digital innovation hubs in Europe. And then the project will end in the end of 2022. Next slide, please. So to give an overview of what we're looking for, which is common to several other projects and initiatives that you probably know. So we have competence centers that are connected to digital innovation hubs. So digital innovation hubs are a role that should support companies in connecting dots and connecting competencies and technologies and providing support to companies, particularly in introducing new technology. And we want to connect these two roles of competence centers and hubs to create this regional DIH network, and then have a pan-European network supported by tools that we are developing in the scope of the project, and that will be hosted in Interop Lab that I'll mention later on. And the objective is to facilitate collaboration among hubs, and also facilitate access to companies in reaching the services that they need to support their daily business. Next slide, please. So what we want to do, so we're establishing and empowering this network, digital innovation hub. So our focus, and that mentioned in the open call, is always cyber, physical, and embedded systems. Applied to several sectors, so we don't have a specialization sector in the project. And then we're developing several tools to support this network, which is a system for intelligent navigation in the network being developed, and then use these to support technology uptake. So we want to contribute to the fourth industrial revolution that we mentioned, by making CPES technology available or easy to implement in a lot of companies, particularly SMEs in Europe, and sustain these networks by these tools. Next slide. Regarding the main tools that we are developing, so we're doing this network mapping, where we are identifying the main competencies, technologies and platforms, collaboration conditions. So these are characteristics of each dot or each player in the network. We're developing these ETB model or adapting from an existing model so that we can characterize the services provided by digital innovation hubs. So this is being developed in the scope of the project, and the objective is that we can use these models to fully describe all the hubs in our network. And then we are developing this user-friendly network navigation system, which will be ready towards the end of the second year, where all the hubs will be presented. So I see there's someone with sound problems. So maybe, Tord, you can enter in the chat that definitely someone is speaking. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. So this navigation system is more than a catalog, because it will include all this characterization that we're mentioning. It will be focused again on cyber, physical, and embedded systems. And the objective is to facilitate both collaboration among the hubs, because we know all competence centers and technology and solution providers, and then also support companies in looking for what they need to improve their businesses. So the main three results of the project to support these network. Next slide, please. So our initial network are, as I mentioned before, 13 initial digital innovation hubs in 9 countries. So this is the list. These hubs are also involved in our application experiment, and our objective is to grow this network with the 2 open calls until the end of the project. You can also check additional details on any of the hubs on our website. Next slide, please. So this is just a representation of the network. So where all the digital innovation hubs are located. Next slide, please. We have 11 initial application experiments. As I said, application experiments have 2 objectives. One is to validate technology on the field of cyber, physical, and embedded systems in companies, allowing the technology to be mature enough to be introduced, particularly in SMEs. And the second one is also to validate the services of the digital innovation hubs. Therefore, we have hubs involved in all the application experiments, and that's what we are seeing also in the open call. These initial application experiments are covering 9 countries in 7 sectors. And you can see they are very diverse, and we don't have these, so we're not asking for any restrictions regarding sectors. It would be good for you to take a look at the existing experiments and see what is already covered by the project and try to do something complementary or different. So ours are quite diverse. I'm just going to present a couple of details about some of them in a random order, but you can find details of all of them on our website. So next slide, please, Tord. So, for example, the first application experiment that we have is related to aquaculture, farming. We're developing a solution for digital control and self-learning automation of the biological process. Again, it is very clear the presence of the cyber physical system technology, and this is what we want to always emphasize. And the objective is to support animal health, identify density and quality of the biofloc, and also control biomass, so that the aquaculture environment is the most appropriate to deliver the results needed. So this is supported, the Digital Innovation Hub present here is Biba in Germany. Next we have, I think I inserted the second application experiment, Tord, if you can go to the next slide. So here we're in a totally different domain supported by ULI, the hub. So we're talking about here in healthcare. Patient monitoring. So this is a business scenario for patient monitoring by injecting new intrusive sensors on patient premises and collecting additional clinical data that can support then the overall healthcare process. And this data would then allow or support delivering more tailored services to patients. And then the third example that I have, I'm actually not providing a description. So we have application experiment 8 about track and trace schedule project. And we have a video that I would like to show. So maybe if you can click on the link, hopefully it works for it. And we can see it's a 2-minute video, but it gives you a nice overview of the application experiment.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the gray.
It's this one.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you can hear the sound of the video also, but
it's on the website anyway, so afterwards people can have a look at it on the website.
Yeah, so we have no sound, so maybe Gash is right. So I would encourage you to see this video, but also maybe Tord, we should go back to the presentation because we get no sound. And also read the description of the other application experiments that gives you an overview of what kind of technology is being deployed in the companies, in which countries they are addressed, which sectors are being addressed. So this is in steel, these are construction elements. So just these are 3 totally different examples of sectors and countries to provide an overview of the 11. So 3 random examples of our initial 11 application experiments. So we can go back to the presentation, George. Yeah. And probably not sure if you can go to the next slide. I think then I pass it up to you. Yeah. So this is just to provide an overview of the project, because I think the most interesting part, or at least for you, you don't want to hear much about the project besides the initial objective. So now we'll concentrate on the open call that Tord will present, and then in answering any questions you may have. So I'll pass the floor to you again, Tord. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita, for this introduction. As you see, we have several interesting application experiments, and now it's time to go more into detail about the first open call of this project. As I told you before, we will have a total of 2 open calls, and as Rita also told you, but this first open call is what we're going to talk about today. So this open call was launched in May, and it's open for proposals until the 31st of August at 5 o'clock. It's the deadline for submission. We have a total budget of 1.8 million euros for this open call, with the aim of adding at least 10 additional application experiments to the already existing ecosystem of application experiments. So okay, a bit about the objectives of this first open call. Well, as we all know, we are basically all affected in one way or another by the COVID-19 pandemic. So one of the objectives of this open call is to contribute to the economic recovery from the crisis brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. I will go more into detail on that later, as it is a section in the proposal template. Also, by adding experiments and DIHs, we want to expand the existing DIH network all over Europe and support the uptake of cyber-physical embedded system technologies and in sectors especially characterized by low levels of digitalization. And we want to support this uptake through the coordination of DIHs. I think I have to remind you again to please mute yourself. I think someone has the sound on and I don't have really the possibility. Okay, so for this open call, we have defined some technological topics, as you can see here. Initially, we defined 4 technological topics within the cyber physical and embedded systems field, and those would be digital twins, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and dashboard controls. But we're also welcome for application experiments in any other field of CPS technologies. And I should also say that application experiments doesn't need to be strictly limited to the technological innovation within any of these topics. So, for example, an SME developing an innovative methodology for example, artificial intelligence could also be welcome to this, to applying for this open call. So why should you then apply? What would be the benefit for you of becoming a successful proposer? Well, you will become a member of the DIH4CPS network, which we now know a bit about. So you will become a part of a growing ecosystems of DIHs, and you will get the opportunity to form linkages with experts within the field of the cyber physical and embedded systems. You will be able to collaborate with DIHs on several areas, such as developing business models, finding investors, access to facilities, and many other ways. So there are a lot of benefits apart from just the funding of applying to this open call. So, okay, let's have a bit of a look at the eligibility criteria. We have established a number of eligibility criteria, which are also found on the guide for proposer document, and I will talk briefly about them here as well. So applicants must be legal entities established in countries eligible for participation in the DIH 2020 projects, and we have a link to that in the guide for proposer document. And each application experiment should be carried out by a mini consortium, which must consist of at least 1 DIH and maximum of 2 additional partners. And the DIH must be enrolled in the European Commission DIH catalog, or if it's not enrolled, it must present a plan for the successful enrollment of this DIH before the end of the experiment. Applicants also need to be registered and have a participant identification code, and involved SMEs should sign an SME declaration, self-declaration, which covers a number of topics such as number of employees, turnover, and so on. It's included in the proposal template. And yeah, this eligibility criteria a bit speaks for itself, but it should cover cyber physical and embedded systems in technological field, and proposals must be submitted in English. Okay, so now we're gonna have a look about how the funding is for this for the successful proposers. So each proposal can request a maximum 180,000 euro for this open call, and we also have a constraint that each third party, so each organization, there is a constraint of maximum 100,000 euro that applies to any initiative within Smart Anything Everywhere or I4MS within the support of financial support of third party. So yeah, and also each participant should represent at least 20% of the overall funding for the proposal, and proposals should also allocate 80% of the overall funding of the experiment to SMEs. So companies will receive 70% of funding of their eligible costs. I will shortly give an introduction of how you would calculate the eligible costs. And non-profit organizations could receive up to 100% of funding for their eligible costs. And how is this then paid out? Well, each participant will receive 30% of the funding at the beginning of the application experiment, and the remaining 70% will be distributed in the final of the application experiment, and these also include the acceptance of all necessary reports and so on. So what are then examples of eligible costs? Well, you have some direct costs that could be, for example, direct personnel costs, software licenses, travel expenses, equipment costs, costs to industrial experimental facilities. And also, when you have listed your direct costs, indirect costs should be calculated as 25% of direct costs. And this should be done both for each individual organization and the consortium, the applying in the consortium as a whole. So, okay, we can now have a bit of a look on the structure of the proposal template. So it's divided in different parts, as you can see here. It begins with a summary, then a technical excellence part, and then a part regarding industrial relevance, potential impact, and exploitation plans. The COVID-19 recovery roadmap, as I will go more into detail into that soon. You will have to present a work plan and budget. You will have to describe the quality of your consortium applying. And then we also have an annex consisting of a SME self-declaration and also an ethics questionnaire, which deals with the question regarding, for example, data storage and so on. And okay, so all of these parts, except the summary and annex, have evaluation criteria linked to it, which we will look a bit more into now. So technical excellence, what sub-criteria, what does that consist of? Well, the quality and soundness of the concept and objectives, novel concept and approaches, the innovation capacity of the application experiment, of course, the adequate usage of CPS technologies, and potential new products or services to be developed. And all these points seen here, they're all taken into account within each evaluation criteria. They are not just examples of what might be taken into account. So all of these points are taken into account. Okay, so industrial relevance, potential impact, and exploitation plans. Well, here we look at aspects such as level of digitalization in the application sector, the level of relevance of CPS in the sector of the proposed application experiment, replicability of the experiment in other SMEs, and also the quality of exploitation. Okay, so the COVID-19 recovery roadmap, which is also eligibility criteria in this open call. So you will need to state factors or needs affected by the COVID-19 crisis in your case, and it could be, for example, loss of production or halted product development or anything really affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. You would have to state requirements how to combat this situation and motivate why your application experiment then contributes to this recovery. You will also need to present quantifiable metrics to actually assess this. Now, well, work plan and budget. We have talked a bit about how to calculate cost and so on. All costs must be, of course, reasonable and clearly justified. Also, the work plan should include what tasks and sufficient deliverables to monitor the results. And then the last evaluation criteria is the quality of the consortium. So here we would look at relevant experience of the consortium, the support by the DIH, also the added value to the DIH4CPS consortium, and as we have talked a bit about before, the plan for enrollment of the DIH in the EC catalog, if this is the case. And all of these evaluation criteria are linked to, will be scored ranging from 0 to 5, as is the standard procedure for Horizon 2020 project, with 0 being sort of the worst score and 5 being the best. Pretty straightforward. So how is it then with reporting? Well, each experiment will have a mandatory midterm and final report consisting of the progress of the experiment, technical results, dissemination and exploitation activities, and also a cost statement. But further reporting and other details will be agreed upon in the negotiation phase. Okay, so now we have had a bit look and have a bit idea of the content and what you should include in the proposal template and the content of this open call. But now we're gonna look more into the submission process, and I'm gonna sort of briefly walk through the process of submitting a proposal. So we have a submission platform for this open call, and when you enter and would like to register in this platform, you arrive to this screen, as you can see.
To just be clear, that you can reach this page from the website. So when you go to the open calls page, when you click on submit proposal, this is where you arrive. Okay, so you can get here from the website.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Gash. We can have also a look at the website after the presentation and the forum and so on, so everyone sees where everything is and so on. But yeah, this is basically where you arrive, and as you can see, you have there 2 options: if you would like to register as a proposer, or if you would like to register as an expert. I will talk more about the call for experts later, but now let's see how the process would be if I would like to register as a proposer. I would click at register as a proposer, and then you arrive here where you would basically provide basic information to register your account, such as your name and an email and so on. Once you have confirmed your account, you will be asked to provide information about your organization, the VIT number, maybe and also your address, country, your legal status, either non-profit or SME or so on. And then when you have provided that information, you're now ready to submit a proposal. So if you go to the call page, you will see down in the right, you have a green button saying new proposal, and that's where you want to click or you should submit a proposal. Then you will arrive into this screen where you should select the topic and also provide a title of the application experiment. And then you proceed to basically the most important thing here are under annexes, where you should download the proposal template, which will be in a Word format, and then you will be asked to upload it. So that's important that no one misses. Okay, so as I was telling you before, we also have a call for evaluators open now, and so if you would be interested to evaluate proposals coming into this open call, we are open for your registration of your interest. So experts need to have proven knowledge or experience of working with DIHs or SMEs in this type of situation. Obviously, expertise related to cyber physical and embedded systems field are relevant, and it would be preferred to have knowledge within the following technological topics as we talked about before: digital twins, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and dashboard controls. And previous experience with evaluation of proposals, especially within the framework of EU-funded projects, is also highly appreciated. Selected evaluators will be required to sign a declaration of conflict of interest and confidentiality, and the call for evaluators are open until the 15th of August, and it's done through also the same platform as we should be using. Okay, so basically that was everything for this presentation. We can now go to the question and answer session, and I then propose that we will use the hand raising function. As you can see next to your name in the Cisco WebEx application, you can raise your hand, and then I could distribute the word to anyone.
Todd, is it worth just quickly just showing the website before we open up the questions so that people, so we could just quickly, Rita, there's a couple of good questions in the chat.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So just in terms of the tab. So some of you have been asking about documentation. When you click on the Open Calls tab, you can see there are Open Calls documents which you can download. So majority of the information should actually be available here. So if I can hand over to Rita now just to mention about the forum.
Okay, so when you enter the project's website, in the tab of Open Call, so above you also have information about the project and the application experiments. In the tab of the Open Call, you have everything you need. So you have the link to the platform to submit the proposals. You have a button that says Documents, where you can download the full guide for proposals and the template. You have a link to see the webinars and register for the webinars. You have on the right side then the forum and the Open Call FAQ. The forum, if we go there, is where you can register very easily and ask any questions, and I'm entering those questions. Okay, so you can see all the questions that were asked, and you can see also the answers provided. So it is a good place for you to ask any questions after this webinar, obviously, and check anything that was entered already, okay? So that is worth taking a look at. And that will be online and it will be running until the open call closes, so until the end of August. Okay, so while, as Tord was saying, we'll appreciate if you can use the functionality of WebEx to raise your hand. So there's a little hand next to your name. You can click on there, and Tord will give you the floor to ask a question. I will take a look at the chat. So
yeah, I think maybe the first one, just quickly, because it was on chat, if Giovanni wants to...
I'll go over the ones from chat while people are raising their hands. So the first from Antoni, the subcontracting to an organization an eligible cost. No, it is not. We're not allowing any subcontracting within the proposals. Then there is a question about IPR from Giovanni. So there is a sentence in the guide for proposers that says DIH4CPS beneficiaries should have free access to all experiment results during the project duration. So who are the beneficiaries? The beneficiaries are the consortia of the project. So all the companies and partners that signed the contract with the European Commission. So the initial consortium of the project DIH4CPS. What this sentence means is that all the partners should have access to the results. So we don't want to manage, we don't want to own the results. We want to have access to be able to disseminate them. I hope this makes clear. So there will be no ownership. So the ownership is from the consortium applying to the open call. You should have a consortium agreement defining the IPR among yourselves, among your small consortium of 1 to 3 partners. We don't really need any special license. It means that you should show us your results while the project lasts, DIH4CPS, so that we can include them in the project results and are able to disseminate them. And then Giovanni also asked the second question about end users or validators. So must the end user or validator of the innovative technology be a partner of the mini consortium, or can the consortium concentrate on the development of the innovative solution and validate it with external third parties? That's a tricky one, I would say. So maybe my answer would be, in principle, no, they don't have to be in the consortium, but that can also be seen as a weaker point in the evaluation, because we have stated that the application experiments have 2 main objectives: validate technology within a company, CPES technology, and validate the services of the Digital Innovation Hub. So either you can clearly prove that you can validate the technology within the duration of the experiment, or maybe that's a weaker point. So it's not an eligibility criteria that the end user has to be part of the consortium, but you have to understand that can be seen as a weaker point in the evaluation. So there is then a question from Intidia. Each partner has to contribute with at least 20% of the budget, and an 80% of the budget shall be allocated to SMEs. Does this mean that DIH in the proposal shall have the 20% of the budget? So a DIH, a Digital Innovation Hub, is a role that can be developed by a consortium, a company, or whatever. So there is no incompatibility that a DIH cannot be an SME. I know cases in Portugal and in other countries. So it means that each partner in the consortium has to represent 20% of the overall budget. This rule means that we want everyone in the consortium to have a significant role. For us, it would make sense to have a proposal where one partner takes 90% of the budget, and then you have 2 partners with 5% each. So anyone that is in the consortium, any of the organizations, should represent 20%. And then 80% has to go to SMEs. It can happen that an SME is representing the Digital Innovation Hub. It can also happen that it is not. So this is just a question of doing the math with regard. So remember that an SME is a classification about number of employees, turnover, and balance sheet. So it says nothing about what the company does.
So Rita, just to clarify that then, so if you have an SME and a Digital Innovation Hub, which is also an SME, so between the 2 of them, the total budget is 80%, so it could be 40-40, is that correct? So
it can, theoretically, yes. So I prefer not to provide any clear examples.
Okay.
Again, if the DIH is an SME, then they account for the total of 80%.
Okay.
Okay, maybe we should go to the questions from the people who have raised their hand, or do you want to add anything else, Rita, on that? I see that we have, Amir have raised the hand, also writing in the chat. So please, Amir. Yeah.
Hello everyone, may I speak up? Well, I'm Amir from Cambridge Business School, Board of France. I have just a doubt on these percentages. I'm not sure if I've understood it well. But let's say we have a consortium of 3 partners, one SME, one DIH, and a research center. Actually, so if 20% goes to the DIH and the research center, it will leave us 60%. So how can we assign or allocate 80% to the SME? So maybe I've wrongly understood it.
So if the DIH is not an SME and the research center is also not an SME, then that consortium doesn't fit our criteria.
Okay, so the DIH should be at least, okay.
So SMEs have to account for 80%, okay?
Okay.
So if each partner has to receive 20%, this means that you can only have one partner which is not an SME in the consortium. Yeah,
but actually, based on the definition that I've understood about the DIH, DIH is very much bigger than an SME, and their purposes or missions are different. So DIH is mostly a digital innovation hub, which is clear from its name, but an SME, so the purposes are different.
Well, as I said, an SME is a classification done by a recommendation of the European Commission with very specific rules and very clear rules, and it mentions only number of employees, turnover, and balance sheet. There are many situations in Europe where, so a digital innovation hub, on the other hand, is a role, not a company per se. It can be a consortium, it can be a company, it can be whatever. There are many forms and constitutions in Europe currently. So it depends on what is the company or who is the company representing the digital innovation hub. So in Europe, there are several examples where digital innovation hubs are not even legally established companies or organizations, so they are represented by SMEs, or they are represented by research centers, or they are represented by universities, or they are represented by large companies. So there's an immense variety of possibilities.
Understand. So if this DIH is actually the SME is the DIH, how could we plan an industrial application? So if the DIH is just based on the role of the DIH is a consortium or a group of people doing dissemination, working on research and in any topic here in CPPS, but what could be the industrial application if it's not a real industrial entity?
So sorry if
so that really, I mean, that sort of comes really from the SME. So really what you're trying to do is get the SME to highlight the problem, and then you're getting support from the DIH and others. So that's why there's the focus on the SME side. So that's really the people who are effectively providing the solutions. It's trying to drive solutions and funding towards that SME market.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and with that, Rita, there's also a question, in the chat where there, and I don't know if that's clarified it in terms of if DIH is not an SME, then the maximum is 20%.
Can I just complement this?
Sure.
So DIHs provide a wide variety of services. It can be ecosystem building, technology, business, so there's a very wide range of services being provided.
Okay, and sorry, one last question. I think most of the items were clear. Thank you for that. I just have one question about the maturity level of the proposition. So if it's an industrial application, should it be a prototype, or do you have any idea about this maturity level of the propositions? How far should we go within 18 months? The timing is short, but
ideally, we should be looking for a technology readiness level of 6 to 7 by the end of the application experiment, okay? So the main focus is not to develop technology, but to deploy and validate that technology.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's really worth going to the website and looking at the experiments section and seeing what the current experiments are doing, because then that gives you at least an idea of what people are actually doing within the project, and those are the sorts of ideas. But it doesn't limit you from those sorts of things, but it just gives a flavor of the relationship between the SMEs, the DIHs, and the end users or the end partners.
Yeah, sure, Gash. Thank you.
Okay.
And you can also, when you go over the application experiments, you can also see that the 11 application experiments that are currently in the consortium of the project that started from its beginning all have end users and all have DIHs, okay? So as I said, that's not an eligibility criteria about the end user in the open call, but it is a plus because then you have the partner who will validate the technology. So when I look at the chat, there was also a question from Intigia, then is it about that non-profits can only reach 20% of the budget? No, there is no rule that says that. So again, companies can be still an SME and have profit or not. So non-profits and profitable companies, the only relevance is that non-profits can receive 100% of their costs, and for-profit companies can only receive 70% of their eligible costs.
Okay, I think we have a question from Carlo, who have raised the hand.
Yeah, it's Carlo D'Ambra from Zenabyte in Italy. The question is still related to the user involved or not in the consortium. Since from the previous answer, it seems that it's worth having it as a partner in the consortium, especially if it is an SME. But then you have one of the eligible costs that is partnering costs to industrial experimental facilities. If we cannot have the user as a partner of the consortium, can we use that part of cost to pay the installer cost for supporting us in the validation and explicitly highlight that in the proposal?
Well, it is considered an eligible cost. So these costs for testing facilities, it is considered an eligible cost. So yes, it is eligible for the proposal. And then you can write the description you find more appropriate.
I mean, is that penalized? I mean, not having explicitly involved in the consortium a user, you say it may reduce the appealing of the proposal. Is that strategy of putting the user not explicitly as a partner, but involved through that mechanism of eligible cost, improving that situation?
It is a bit difficult for me to conclude on what evaluators will think or interpret in the criteria.
Carlo, is there a reason why the end user can't be listed or named?
Yes, there is a reason, in the sense that we have two SMEs involved at the moment. We are one of the two, and we bring the artificial intelligence. The other SME brings the Internet of Things expertise. So we then, since you do not allow to have three partners, technological partners in the proposal, then we have to decide who is outside. Since, I mean, you said that the maximum number of partners is 3, 1 DIH and 2 SMEs or whatever. So we cannot be 3. That's the reason why. Since there is a criteria that says that. Is that correct?
Yes, so the maximum number of partners in the consortium is 3, yes.
So 1 DIH plus 2 SMEs. So we are 3 and we cannot fit all 3.
Yeah, so the question is, when reading your proposal, will the evaluators have a clear idea on where and how the technology will be validated, what will be the results of that, and is it replicated in other companies or not?
Clear. That's absolutely clear. Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that is more clear as an answer. I would say, so the user presence is not mandatory from the call. And by looking at what you have already funded, the 10 projects you have in the website, none of them has apparently the user involved.
No, all of them have users involved. All of them.
All of them?
Yes. All of them have somebody involved who is applying the technology. All of them.
So just giving an example, Carlo, for experiment 8, BRC is a rebar company. It basically provides concrete steel for industry, and they have a specific issue. They need some form of tracking and tracing in a very hostile environment. So they are then the end user. They're the people that we need to provide a service for. In this particular case, Control2K is the technology provider, so that there is a technology that can be deployed, but obviously you need some form of testing, some form of development and area where you can test some of your theories. So that's what the DMIW provides, the DIH provides, is a faculty and a facility to really bring the technologies and the end users together. So it's almost this holy trinity of the end users requiring services or functionality, specifically on the CPS side, somebody who can provide those services, and then the DIH effectively acting as a catalyst between them to make the whole thing happen.
Okay, can you, if you have time to ask, elaborate, for example, on experiments number 1?
Rita, do you want to do that one? Because that's the one you just been through. Or is anybody from BIBA here? Just checking if there's anyone from BIBA.
Just to understand who is there, the user.
So you see, if you go to the website, you have a small schema.
Yeah, I see Poly, SWMS, and BIBA. BIBA is the research institute. SWMS is an expert for digitalization, and Poly is an engineering and development of solutions. So I don't see any user here.
So Poly ends up being the sort of user. I mean, it's what we call the application experiment. It's the end target. So when we define a user, it doesn't specifically mean it's a company or a business or whatever. It's something that needs an application applied. So you've got DIH. Yeah. Sorry.
Poly is providing solutions for water treatment, and they are integrating these results into their services and their products, applying in their clients. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, so it's a system integrator, I fully understand. Right? Yeah. So they have a product and they integrate this innovation into their product, and in this sense it is a user.
Yes, so they're the people who need help. So the application or the experiment is the people who need help. The SP in that particular case is the person who can provide that help and support. But obviously, because it's experimental, there's no guarantees. Then obviously the DIH is there also to provide the environment to test the environment or the knowledge between all of those companies.
But we are testing, deploying, and validating the technology in a real environment in one of their customers.
Okay, so that makes, okay, now it's clear. So you don't need the final manufacturer, but it's okay to have someone that integrates and demonstrates and is able to test in a real place and not just in a lab.
Yes, because TRL 67 requires more than a lab, so you need a real environment. You have to understand that the application experiments coming from the open call are not exactly like the application experiments in the beginning of the project, because they don't last the same. So the application experiments in the beginning of the project will last until month 30 and started in the beginning, and the rules are not exactly the same. The
same applies, say, for example, the second experiment, for example. I mean, in that particular case, the DIH can provide the services as well. So the application is the company Lind, but in that case, DIH can provide the support and the software. So in that particular case, there's only two partners.
Okay, yeah, understood. Okay. So you need to demonstrate that there is, at the end of the day, someone that is able to exploit the results of the study, whatever it is, so the experiment, and apply in real life, and also during the experiment, do experiments and validate the technology, whatever form it is. Okay.
Yes. So somebody needs help, specifically in CPS type problems and issues, you know somebody that can support them or help them, but then the DIH then is the catalyst between them all.
Okay, clear. Thanks.
Okay, so moving on, I've seen that Ines have raised the hand.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We have a consortia of two SMEs. That will be one the technology provider, and the other one it will be the end user. And then, in the consortia, DIH is compulsory. So we will have a university as a DIH, that is. It is specialized in the Internet of Things, so it will be helpful in the technological development. My question is regarding the budget. I do not understand very well how the budget should be allocated within this consortia. I guess that the DIH should allocate the 20% of the budget, and then the other 80% should be divided within the two SMEs. Is that right, or?
If you do it like that, then you comply with the criteria defined. So there are two main criteria for the budget, in addition to the maximum defined. So each partner has to have at least 20%, and 80% has to go to SMEs.
Okay, so but the 80% should be divided if in the consortia there are two SMEs?
As you want, as you see more appropriate.
Okay, so that, within that 80%, they could go 30 for one of the SMEs and the other 50 to the other one. That's
entirely up to you. As long as each partner is at least 20%, how you distribute is entirely up to you.
Okay, and regarding the DIH, it doesn't matter, no? What it provides to the consortium. I mean, it could be something more related to the technology or to the management. No,
yes,
it does not have a fixed role.
Yes, it can be any of the services. You just have to describe in the proposal what is the support that the DIH is bringing. So is it more ecosystem, technology, business? So that's entirely up to you. We haven't defined any restrictions on that, but you should specify what is the role of the DIH. So why is it there in the consortium and what it will provide?
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any more raised hand apart from Amir, who might have raised a hand again, or I don't know.
I've just answered Amir's in the chat, which is almost the same question, I guess. Amir, if it's
no, sorry, I forgot to remove the hand.
That's fine. That's okay.
Okay.
So I would say that coordination is not a sufficient role for a DIH. So.
Okay. So.
So we have the ETB model where we have ecosystems such as community building, DIH innovation development, ecosystem governance, and then you have technology and business, incubation, access to financing, and so on. So be clear in the proposal what services the DIH is providing. So I would say if you have a DIH just to manage the consortium, I wouldn't see that as a sufficient role of the hub.
Okay, good. The important thing, of course, is obviously if you still have questions, go to the website, use the forum. There's lots of answers there already. There's lots of FAQs as well, but ideally now just use the forum because obviously Rita can respond to those very quickly. Rita, did you want to mention anything about private or public sort of stuff, information on the forum?
Yeah, so I would say when you go to the forum, please make all questions public because you can learn from each other's questions. And we want, our main objective with this forum is to have the process as transparent as possible. So after this webinar, we'll make the presentation available, and also the recording of the webinar will be available for everyone that wants to see it again. We will have another webinar in August, and you can already see the date there on the website. But I would encourage everyone to make public questions on the forum, and I will answer them, and you can then reply to my reply, and there's absolutely no problem in that. I would also like to highlight about funding, that please consider that it is written in the guide for proposals that an eligibility criteria, that there are two initiatives in Horizon 2020. One is called Smart Anything Everywhere. So this is a group of projects, and the other one is called I4MS, another group of projects. And these two groups, two clusters of projects, if you want, have several open calls opened. And you can apply to these several open calls. So DIH4CPS is just one of these several. And there is a maximum amount that you can receive in all of these projects from these two initiatives, which is 100,000 euros. So if you have already applied or are already receiving funds, financial support from third party, from any of these other projects, we have to consider that when applying for the DIH4CPS open call, okay? So in the guide for proposals, you have links to this website so you can see the projects that are there, the other open calls, as information if you want to apply. And also we've asked to fill in a table in the guide for, in the template proposal that we are aware, because the Commission will check these before contracts are signed. To mention,
where is it from?
Sorry, David, maybe you have your...
You can mute, okay, thank you. One last thing that I would like to highlight and mention is, please bear in mind that last week we have made an update to the guide for proposals and proposal template in trying to clarify some issues that were a little bit fuzzy and raising too many questions. So please make sure that you have downloaded the guide for proposals after 15th of July, and also the proposal template after 15th of July. So in the cover it says new, and it has the date 14 or 15 in both documents, and that's the version you should use, please.
Okay, I don't see any more raised hands. Maybe Ines, or maybe has forgot to raise or lowered her hand, or yeah. So if there is no further questions today, I would like to thank you very much, all of you, for your participation. And as Rita said, we have the forum of the website, and you will find this presentation uploaded and recorded also from the website. So we wish you all a good day, and again, thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you all. We're looking forward to your proposals. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.